Hello. Welcome to this drawing tutorial. It's a tutorial on the method that I use for drawing in layer masks. So what I do, well, actually, this will achieve three things for you. It will allow you to work both positively and negatively extremely quickly without having to touch your keyboard. It will allow you to colorize your line work afterwards without any extra setup or any other steps. And it will also allow you to keep totally non-destructive drawings that you can always work back into and have full flexibility with later. And it's pretty simple, so let me show you how this works. Make a new layer for my drawing, and the first thing that I'm going to do, let's just assume that I'm going to do a black and white drawing, so I'm going to fill my layer with black. And then I'm going to put a mask, a layer mask, on my layer. You'll see nothing changes because my layer mask is white, which means that everything is showing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the layer mask with black that hides the entirety of this black layer. Now I'm going to start drawing. This is the one and only little confusing bit of this method, and that is white means that your marks will show through. So it will show your layer of black that you just filled, and black means it will hide what you've done. So it's kind of the inverse. If you're thinking of this like pen and ink or like graphite, it's kind of just the inverse of of what you would think for that. So I'm going to start making my drawing here, and again I'm working in the layer mask. You'll see over here that's actually selected, and I'm going to super quickly draw this black bear here. And I want to get in just knock in some super basic line work before I show you what's really cool about this, which is the working positively and negatively very quickly. So we've got our basic line work here. What I can do is I can start scribbling back and forth, and I can erase and draw really, really, really quickly. And I'm doing this by clicking a button on my stylus. Now, how do you do that, Andy? That is a great question. That's the only other part of this that requires any effort or thought at all, is that you just need a little bit of setup on your Wacom settings. So, where did I have my Wacom settings? I might have closed them. Let's open them up. The only thing that I changed in Photoshop here was what the stylus buttons are selected to. I have option down here, which I just use for color picking when I'm painting. But the other thing here is a keyboard command of X, and I call that color swap. Oops, look at that, I misspelled color. There you go. Basically what X does, the key X is it flips between your foreground and background colors over here. And since white shows my layer and X hides my layer, or excuse me, black hides my layer, I just hit the X, which is assigned to my stylus button, and I can really, really, really quickly work back and forth and get this interesting texture happening, and I don't have to reach for my keyboard and look to the side or anything like that. And so that's cool. I like that. Lets me work really quickly. So that's the one part about this that I like. And I should say I developed this technique back kind of before the newest update to the Photoshop brushes. I think fixes a lot of this in the way they sort of regard brushes. But back in the day, tool presets, most of my brushes were tool presets, and if I wanted to use them as erasers so that I kept the same sort of texture and like edge quality and stuff like that, I'd have to go through and like make new brushes that were either eraser tool presets with the same settings, or generic brush presets that you could use for anything. And that was kind of annoying to me, so I developed this as a workaround. You don't necessarily need to use that so much anymore now that the brushes, but even still, there's certain parameters that I think tool presets remember that brush presets won't. Things like size and I believe color, that kind of thing. So if you want to keep those settings assigned to your brush, but you want to be able to erase with it also, this is a good method for that. So that's the first thing. Positive and negative, super fast, no touching the keyboard. Next part, colorizing it. Now that I have my drawing here, if I want to colorize it, oh, the other thing I should say, working in black and white is really cool. So I could hit 5 to do 50% opacity on, whoops, that was probably flow. Yep, it was. Let's hit Shift 5 for 50% opacity, and you can see I get my grayscale happening here. And even though that looks like gray, what that actually is a 50% alpha value of gray. Now, what does that mean? That means that's not going to be gray. If I put a color underneath it, what it will do is it will actually be 50% alpha of black. I think that's cool. That's cool too because you can color pick it if you want. So I could, if I'm in my layer over here, I can color pick this gray, and then I can draw at 100% opacity with that gray if I want to. Here, you can probably see it easier if I do this. Let's use a brush that's a little more opaque. So you can see that like that's really opaque gray, and I can color pick those things, you know, in here. But then, or at least the marks are really opaque. But then if I were to turn on my color underneath, you'd see that actually remains a just an alpha value or whatever. So I think that's cool. The other thing that's really cool about this is colorizing. So I don't need to do anything other than just click over off of the layer mask and onto the actual layer to colorize my layer. And why is this special? Well, because I can fill the whole layer if I want to. I can paint in on the layer. You know, I can, if I want to do sort of both, like I want to like get gradations of color. This is I know, just beautiful color that I'm doing here. But you know, let's say I want to do whatever. I have this stuff worked out, and then I want the top of him to be, you know, kind of teal for some reason. And I'm like, yeah, I'm liking how this is working, but shoot, I need to do more drawing. All I have to do more drawing is to click back over on the actual mask layer, and now I can draw, and you'll see that actually the color decisions that I made in here will be completely unaffected. Whoops, let's put this back to 100%. Will be completely unaffected by the marks that I'm making. So I'm kind of compartmentalizing value and color, which I think is, you know, a really helpful thing to do. So, and then of course, so I can always go back to that, and that's what I like about this. It's like I can always change the color, I can always change the drawing, and then if I get it to a point where I like it and I'm, you know, I don't want to, you know, keep this extra information anymore, I can always right click over here and I can apply the layer mask, and then I have this, you know, all on its own, colors committed, all that sort of thing. So anyway, there you go. That's my drawing method for drawing in masks. I hope you liked it. I hope it's useful. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.